The really cool part I want to share with everyone here is, yeah, things are changing. The basic, I was going back and forth on how to present this to you guys, and I was going to put a deck together. I was going to share a presentation that Jeffrey Kiss did, and I thought I would just sit here and talk to you guys. Are you guys cool with that? I'm going to kind of cruise through this thing, and I spent the weekend preparing this training and these talking points. And first of all, the really cool part of all of this is that I want you guys to know that your leadership, so Leah Perea, who is the CEO of EXP, he has a direct line to the attorney for the Department of Justice. That's who's been guiding us. There's a reason why Glenn Sanford, our CEO, Glenn Sanford, our founder, stepped down and named Leo as our CEO. So as our EXP CEO leader has a direct line to the Department of Justice. It's been commented on by industry leaders that EXP has been out in front of this entire thing since the beginning, and I'm super proud of that. Also, Jeffrey Kist, who is the lead broker for New Jersey in EXP, he was the only broker when I joined EXP in 2019. Jeffrey Kist is on the board of directors for the National Association of Realtors. Also, as you guys know, I was named as the talking head for Zillow on the NAR settlement, right? So your leadership team is probably the best, most well poised to get out in front of this thing. And the cool part about when I talk about this, if you guys are going to go and if you're going to go sit with the broker and things like that in EXP, we got more people coming in here. We got more people coming in here. I don't know how people. Hey, Lauren, is there a way to make it so people can just join in? You don't have to like let people in Zoom.
Yeah, you can do it in your settings in Zoom, so I can set you up with that later.
Do that. Oh, yeah, please. I'm like, how do people do this? Usually Lauren's the host, you guys, I think. So anyway, yeah, anyway, what this looks like is okay, I lost track. Anyway, I wanted to thank everybody for being here today. The real estate landscape is going under significant changes due to the NAR settlement, and I want to address how we as a team are going to navigate through these changes successfully. As I just mentioned, our leadership is out in front of this thing, and it's going to be okay. The NAR changes are a big shift for all of us. They bring new rules and regulations that we must adhere to. But I firmly believe that with the right mindset and strategy, we can turn these challenges into opportunities. Our strategy moving forward, so this all starts on August 1st, which is Thursday. And I'm going to take you guys, we got an hour and a half here. I'm not sure we'll need all of it. I'm going to try and keep this within like an hour, and then we'll do Q&A. Our strategy, our approach is to fail forward. Can someone tell me what failing forward means?
Learn from your mistakes.
Learn from your mistakes. Thanks, Abish. 100%, guys. The reason why people don't become successful is because they're not willing to try and fail and try again. Does that all make sense, you guys? This means that we're going to learn from every experience, adapt quickly, and continue to improve. We have an incredible volume of leads, which gives us a unique advantage. Have you guys ever thought the reason why we can like bob and weave and move so quickly is because we have so many connections coming in through Zillow? And if we have so many connections coming in through Zillow, we have so many conversations. And if we share here's the questions we're always asking. What's working? What's not working? And what can we do better, right? Anything in life, that's what we should be talking about to people that we care about and things we're trying to achieve. So the thing that I'm super excited about is think about the agent that does 4 deals a year and the amount of consumers they speak to. They're not going to be able to navigate these things. This also lies the opportunity for y'all, for all of us. I'm super excited. I see Ethan, Ethan that's ready to go after it and doesn't give an F. Dude, he's going to defeat all the realtors that are scared and they don't have the opportunity to go out and speak to people and learn this thing super fast. I'm really proud to say, man, we were one of 900 teams picked for the Zillow Flex program. It's down to 400 teams now. Like they weeded those people out, and we had to get in there and figure it out. When we got the Zillow Flex program, I don't think any of y'all were here, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think anyone was here, and we had 4 agents on our team that just were not poised to work that program. And then basically through bobbing and weaving and failing forward, we figured it all out, and we figured out how to make it work. So we have a unique advantage by working through what we're going to be doing is working through various scenarios rapidly And we're going to gain insights and develop the best practices that will guide us through this transition. Teamwork, guys. I just saw on Slack, Elizabeth shouting out Deidre. That's how we're going to win, guys. If you go work at a real estate brokerage or most real estate teams, they don't have the cohesion. They're not talking to each other. They're not helping each other. They're not sharing what's working, what's not working, what can we do better. If we just do that, we have an insane advantage over everyone else. Chris Styles raised his hand.
Hello, Joaz. Are you sharing a deck right now?
If you were here on time with the rest of the group, you would know that I made this weekend, I was going back and forth. I made a decision. I could share the deck that Jeffrey Kist gave me. I could share the one that Leo gave me. I could share the one that Zillow has. And I decided that I was going to have a conversation with the team and talk at them for about an hour. And then I'm going to do about Q&A after that.
All right, cool. I just want to make sure you weren't reading on something. And everybody, if you guys can kindly turn on your cameras, that would be wonderful. Please, yeah, be engaged here.
Cool. Thanks, Chris. I love you. I'm just breaking your balls because you're my best friend.
That's pretty awesome.
So yeah, our strategy is going to be failing forward. Okay. We're going to be using data to drive decisions. No one here is going to be emotional. That's coming from me. I don't know who knows me well, but I'm a very emotional person. I'm a high I on the disc profile. But guess what? We are not going to react. We're going to think. Is that cool, guys? If a question comes up or something comes up that you don't know, we're going to consult with our team. We're going to consult with Chris Styles. We're going to consult with me. And I'm going to talk more about that in a moment, right? Remember, we're using data to drive decisions. What's working, what's not working, what can we do better? The best example of this is Oz Group was on Zillow disengagement when we decided to tell people that homes were not available when they called in. When there was very low inventory during COVID, we were like, oh, that house isn't available, click. And we never met those people. And if we didn't meet those people, we couldn't convert deals. And Zillow was like, hey, we're kicking you out of the program in 60 days if you don't turn it around. Right? I consult with teams, large teams across the United States who are in disengagement. It's not a cool place to be. Because we had the data and we understood what we were doing wrong and we figured it out quickly, we were able to pivot. So as a team, we can make decisions, give feedback, pivot together. This data-driven approach will ensure that we are not just reacting to changes, but proactively navigating them. By the way, you're allowed to freak out. You're allowed to be pissed. You can be emotional. Just do it at Chris. Do it at me. Do it at one of your. Don't do it in front of the consumer, right? Like behind closed doors, you can throw a shoe at me, right? But like, don't let them see you sweat, right? Sharing wins, losses, and improvements. We are going to foster an environment where we openly share our wins, losses, and what we can do to improve. It is imperative over the next 30, 60 days, maybe 90 days, that we talk about what's going on. Wins, what are we doing? What's working? What's not working? What can we do better? We have an insane, I look at the people on this call, dude, it's over. Everyone else is how many teams and brokerages are going to have a conversation like this today or this week? Not very many, guys, right? Can we agree? Not very many of them. So by communicating at a very high level, we can support each other, learn from each other, and grow stronger together. Cool. Our leadership. So now I'm going to talk about leadership. I kind of touched on this, but I'm going to say it again because I think this is very important. We are incredibly fortunate to have strong leadership and connections that keep us at the forefront of these changes. Our CEO, Leo, has a direct line to the Department of Justice. I'm going to keep saying Department of Justice because that's why everything changed this last Monday. Department of Justice saw what everyone was doing. They're the final say. And Department of Justice was like, no, guys, you're not going to change the word from commission to concession, right? We're going to separate this. We're going to separate this. That's what they want to do. They just want to separate it, right? There's no commingling. So our state broker, Jeffrey, is on the board of directors for the National Association of Realtors, which gives us valuable insights and influence. Chris Styles, who's our sales manager, is in direct contact with other sales teams and sales leaders around the country, along with top leadership at Zillow. He's going to monitor how this plays off. He's going to monitor how this plays out and ensure that he's also going to ensure that our contract to close is tight and buttoned up. The really cool part is, Chris, you guys don't see this. He spends 5 to 10 hours a week networking with other Zillow, not even just Zillow, just other sales teams around the United States. And guess what he's asking them? What's working? Can someone guess the next one?
What's not working?
Yeah, what can we do better, right? Remember, guys, I think that 3 magic words, I don't know. Another 3 magic words, I need help. And don't let your ego get in the way, because you have too much support here, man. It's insanity. I always say this, man. People, if you do the right thing by people in general, you wind up being surrounded by really, really good people that are rooting for you. And the really cool part about our mission is we have way too many really good people rooting for us. It's like almost impossible to fail. And that's what carries me through the day to day. And I want that to carry you guys as well. Additionally, we've aligned with Next Management and Meg, who I was in constant contact with this weekend through text, video messaging, all this. She's going to ensure that our contract to close is tight and buttoned up for you. I've been working closely with Zillow. I think I said this before. I've been working very closely with Zillow as the spokesperson for the NAR settlement, ensuring that we are not just participants, but leaders in this transition. Yes, I'm reading from notes I prepared for this meeting. Guys, we're built for this. Can I remind you guys that whoever joined Oz Group and was like, yo, that's different. These guys and girls and whatever. I think if you saw like, wow, they're doing something different, man. They're out ahead of all this stuff and they can pivot and make changes quickly. Then you're correct, right? That's why you joined Oz Group, right? We don't believe in fax machines and the MLS as it looks right now, right? We don't believe in all these things. What that means is we're built for this. We're adaptable to change and thrive in this environment. The curve, you guys don't see the curveball Zillow Flex throws at Chris Styles, right? Some of them hit him in the head, but he gets back up and whatever. You guys don't see COVID. By the way, I'm your leader. I excelled in 2008, 9, and 10 when there were short sales. When the average days on market were 90 to 100 days. Gina knows what I'm talking about, right? So I have been through short sales. I have been through the great market crash. The first house I ever bought, I lost it to short sale. The next house I bought, I purchased as a short sale. We've been through COVID. We've been through Zillow Flex. The Keller Williams office down the street can't say that, right? The majority of real estate offices and teams are an audience right now. They're not leading this and they're not participating in it. So we're in a good spot. We are going to continue to make the consumer our North Star and use this as an advantage to grow our business and weed out the unprofessional competition in our industry. Our focus on the consumer will set us apart and ensure our continued success. So if you take anything away from this, our mission is to focus on the consumer. The consumer continues to be our North Star. My leadership, our North Star is you, and your North Star is the consumer. You guys with me? There's an opportunity to lead. Now more than ever is our chance to pull ahead in this industry. These changes separate the strong from the weak, the dedicated from the complacent. This is our time to show what we are made of. By staying agile, committed, and client-focused, we will not only survive these changes, but we will come out on top. This is our opportunity to lead, to innovate, and to set the standard for our real estate industry. And that's what I expect everyone on this call to do. We're moving forward together. I'm confident that we will not only get through these changes, but thrive in this new environment by failing forward, using data, sharing our experiences, and maintaining a high level of communication. We will continue to provide exceptional service to our clients and achieve our goals. That's it, guys. Pretty simple, right? Failing forward, using data, sharing experiences, high level of communication, consumers the North Star. Do you think we can lose? It's impossible. if you follow that mindset, right? So I want to thank everyone here for your dedication to hard work. We're going to embrace these changes with a positive mindset and a commitment to excellence. Together, we'll navigate the new landscape and emerge stronger than ever. Dude, the future is ours to shape, man. In a year from now, the real estate industry is going to be weeded out by anyone that is not a true professional and does not have systems, models, and tools, does not have a steady flow of leads, does not have a sales manager holding them accountable and helping them with their goals. So we're actually running this like a business, unlike the majority of realtors.
Mhm.
There are, I'm going to go over a couple other things, then I'm going to dive into the actual changes. I'm going to give you guys action items, scripts, objections, and rebuttals. Sound good? Action items. Guess what? Guess who's back? I'm going to be diving back in at a very high level. Those of you that were here when I was like listening to your calls and in your follow-up box and texting you and like popping up out of nowhere when you like didn't want me to, Marla, right? Adrian, right? I'm back, guys. So I'm coming for you and I'm going to be in this, right? What that really looks like is my job is to walk. I put on any other big rocks I put aside for the foreseeable future. My job's to walk. I believe that my job as a leader is to walk alongside of you and sometimes behind you, never in front of you. And that's what I'm going to be doing. Cleared my calendar from all other objections to walk by your side. And I'm going to be your key point of contact for NAR related questions. Tag me in Slack, right? So I'm going to ask you guys this. I'm going to instruct you guys on what we're going to be doing next. It's really simple stuff. I need your objections and your challenges. You have to call me, you have to text me, you have to send me a video, right? The faster I get this feedback, the faster I can remove friction. Does all make sense, guys? With the amount of phone calls that we get and people that we meet, we should have this thing ironed out in 2 weeks, maybe 30 days max, right? And what I mean by ironed out is I don't think there's going to be a lot of challenges, but there will be some misunderstanding, miscommunication. The scripts I'm going to give you guys today, the hardest part about all this is you guys are like my people. I love you. I want to protect you. I want to give you all the answers. I want to have a crystal ball and tell you how this is going to play out. But can I do that? Who's got kids, right? Whoever sent a kid to school for the first time or away on a date or driving a car, or like there's these things that happen where you're like, all right, well, you're gonna see what happens. You're gonna drive a car, I got a license, right? Like we're gonna see what happens. You know, you're gonna put your seatbelt on, right? And you got a license, so I'm gonna prepare you guys the best I can, but I need some feedback. You're gonna come back and be like, well, I'm driving, it's awesome, but you know what? I slid a little bit in the rain. I remember that exact conversation with my father. He's like, well, Joe, you got to turn into the slide. You know about this? And I'm like, no, I don't. He taught me, that was communication. And I didn't crash my car into a pole because I was able to tell my father, hey, I was driving, it was wet out, blah, 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 blah. I slid a little bit, even in the snow, right? You know how you have to turn into the drift or the slide or whatever. That's what I'm talking about. When you have those issues, you cannot stay quiet. You can't be complacent. And here's the crazy part. I'm going to get into this. The consumer doesn't have a choice. You guys, they have to sign the paper. Whether it's you or Bob over at Remax, they have to sign the paper. You got it, guys? We're not doing this because we want to or we think it's fun. It is required by law by the Department of Justice. Got it?
Mhm.
So now I need your objections and your challenges. What does that look like? There's going to be a NAR. There is going to be, or there already is a NAR changes Slack channel. Lauren, do we have this yet?
It's happening in a few minutes. Give me 2 minutes.
NAR changes Slack channel. Someone tell me before I someone tell me what you think this channel is for. Marlo, what's this channel for?
This channel? What do you mean by that?
Guys, if you guys, I need you guys locked in on this because this is everything, guys. People are going to fall off, right? People are going to fall off during this change, and
Update on what's going on.
To keep us up to,
yeah. So Mara, what I was talking about is we're going to have a NAR changes Slack channel, right? To update you on what's going on. Yes. What else? What do I need from you guys in that channel? If you had to take a guess.
Communicate
Our
what
feedback.
difficulties.
What's working? What's not working? What can I do better? I want you guys to like tattoo that on your face. I want you to write it down, remember it, daily affirmations. That's how we're going to win. Lumberg is going to go on an appointment on Friday morning and something's going to happen and it's going to help Nick Aarons, who's going to be going out on an appointment on Sunday. Can we all agree? And we do group coaching because if it hasn't happened to you yet, it probably will. Does all make sense, guys? Slack channel. That's where you guys are going to go with this, right? Now the Slack, so here's the channel rules, right? Stay on topic, right? Don't ask me like, where do you go buy light bulbs for a patio fan or whatever, like oil tank, hot water heater situation, right? Discuss only topics related to NAR, share challenges, questions, actionable items, client situations. Be specific and clear, guys. When posting about challenges, be specific about the issue and the context. Provide clear details. Be supportive and constructive. I can't take the negative stuff. You guys know that, right? This is a PMA, positive mental attitude environment that we have here, right? Offer constructive feedback and solutions. As in any Slack channel, if you don't have any clue or you haven't experienced it before, please don't add a comment. I love like realtors will like give tons of advice on real estate investment, but they live with their parents, right? Like, no, I'm not offending anyone, but they'll be like, boom, boom, boom. Like we want, if you don't, if you're not an expert on the subject, just don't chime in, right? Stay professional. Use threads for discussions. You guys know how to use threads, right? Share updates and follow up.
Hey, how you guys doing? Can you just do me a favor? Can you just
use the channel for real-time situations? What does that mean? Guys, don't do like, well, what if like my cousin wants to buy a house next year and then he won't like sign the form and then like someone falls in the house, right? Like real-time situations, like what's really, really happening. Some examples of challenges. How to explain the new NAR regulations to buyers and sellers who are unfamiliar with them. Addressing concerns and questions from clients about how these changes affect their transactions. Handling resistance from, this is another one, handling resistance from clients when asking them to sign newly required disclosure forms. Explaining the importance of the paperwork and how it protects their interests. Here's a sample situation. I have a buyer who's confused about the new compensation rules and why they might need to pay a fee directly. How have you explained this to your clients? By the way, I'm going to take you through these examples. Seller resistance to signing a disclosure form. A seller is hesitant to sign the new mandatory property disclosure forms. What strategies have you used to explain the necessity and benefits of these forms? I'm currently with a client who is unsure about the designated agency option. Can anyone provide a quick, clear explanation I can use right now? Sound good, guys? So we're gonna have the Slack channel. All right. I'll stop right there. Well, I'm gonna go over the actual changes right now. I know this isn't like the most earth-shattering stuff. There hasn't been a dad joke yet. I get it. Like this is like the more serious stuff, but let's stay locked in. And I made a choice. I was gonna like pull up a deck. I got the actual deck from Jeffrey Kist, which is like the best one from the training on Thursday. I'm just gonna go through the bullet points with you guys. Is that cool? And then when you guys have questions, let me know. All right. Oh, and I'll just say this. I'm in town next week in West Long Branch. We're giving a presentation on this with 4 other team leaders. There's gonna be like $300 million in closed sales this year from team leaders in New Jersey on stage. We've sold over 150 tickets already to this thing. It holds about 250 people. We're serving lunch. I would recommend everyone being there, right? We're serving lunch and yeah, we're gonna be going over it there. Cool. So first thing I'm going to cover now is seller side changes. Actually, I'm going to share my screen here. So you guys don't have to stare at my face, right? So, all right. Seller side changes. Actually, I changed my mind. Seller side changes. The listing agent will only receive and request compensation for listing the property. There's a new listing agreement, right? There's also Meg is creating an intake form, which she's going to share with us on Thursday. So as a listing agent, when you go take a listing, you are just requesting compensation for listing the property. The listing agent will not offer out compensation to a buyer agent. So as a listing agent, we are not involved with the buyer agent's commissions, right? I'll talk about that later. No cooperation between selling agent and buyer agent. What the Department of Justice wants us to do is just keep these two things separate. Simple, right? Listing agent is not going to be responsible for what a buy-side broker will pay. Now, if you're a listing agent, we're going to get to this. If you're a listing agent, you're going to go in and you're going to sit down with your seller and you're going to inform them that the buyer is going to be bringing them an offer, and then the request for their compensation will most likely be on our offer to purchase. And we're going to talk about this through scripts and rebuttals and things like that. Cool, guys? All references to compensation are prohibited in the MLS. So right now I'm going over the new rules with you guys. This isn't like scripts and how to sell things and how to say it. This is like the actual rules. This is the law presented by the Department of Justice. There will no longer be fields for compensation in the MLS. If such fields previously existed, they will be set at 0. Starting August 1st, no brokerage in New Jersey will be permitted to include compensation information in the MLS. I don't know if anybody saw Ricky Cruz's post on Monday about EXP, like blew up. It's like everybody. It's like not just us. MLS fees will no longer be charged. We can now receive compensation as a dual agent from both parties involved in the transaction. By the way, I'm going to get into that as well. Dual agency also counts as the same brokerage. It's not just if Ashley represents the buyer and the seller. It's if someone at EXP represents both the buyer and the seller. Transaction fees can be charged on both sides. That's allowed. A mandatory seller property disclosure will be required from now on. So you guys all heard that. The seller's disclosure didn't change. The way it used to be is if you was an investment property or you never lived there, or it was your mom's house and she passed away and you live in Ohio, you still have to fill it out. To the best of your knowledge, of course. Cool. Buy side changes. That's the seller side changes. I'm going to do buy side changes, and then I'll stop and we'll go over some questions. Well, actually, let me get through these bullet points, then we'll go over some questions. A buyer-broker agreement will be required before working with all buyers at the start of the business relationship. This didn't change. We already talked about this. When we meet someone, they're going to need to sign a buyer agency brokerage agreement in order to go into a house. There's a new option to be a designated agent. Is this on anyone's radar? Dual agent, designated agent? Give me 1 second. I think I should dive into this. You're going to hear this, so I'm going to show this to you. Agency explained. All right, everyone knows what a seller agent is, right? Duh. Buyer's agent, duh. Transaction broker. We don't really work as a transaction broker. Disclosed dual agent, designated agent. Someone read to me what a disclosed dual agent is.
As a disclosed dual agent, I, as a licensee, represent both parties. However, I may not, without express permission, disclose that the seller will accept a price less than the listing price, or that the buyer will pay a price greater than the offered price.
Cool. Kunal, will you read designated agent while you're at it?
Sure. Designated agent. Agency, which enables a brokerage to appoint different agents to represent both the seller and the buyer with the full fiduciary duties at the client's request, is now permissible.
Okay, cool. So Kunal, pop quiz, you ready? How are you under pressure?
In this situation?
In this situation, yeah.
So basically it would be like me and Eddie on a deal, but not sharing more of the information than what you're supposed to.
So I was trying to make a joke there, but it didn't work. Yeah, so designated agent is Eddie and Kunal, same transaction, fiduciary responsibility. You guys are both under the umbrella of the same brokerage. You guys are both representing someone separately, and you have a fiduciary responsibility to both people, right? Disclosed dual agency, that's when Kunal represents the buyer and the seller. And if you could read the verbiage, the Department of Justice doesn't really want that happen. Can you guys tell the Department of Justice doesn't really want that happening, right? They want it separated, man. Due to this settlement, they want things separated, but this is going to happen. Cool. Those two types of agencies start August 1st. Compensation paid by buyer. Buyer can negotiate with seller to pay compensation to buyer broker or give concession to buyer to do the same, right? We're going to go over these forms. This is what's in the form. So the buyer can request that their fee be paid by the seller, which would be business as usual, right? Compensation can be paid by a buyer. A fee must be charged to the buyer if the seller does not cover it. A fee must be established and a request can be made by the buyer. So before we work with anyone, they need to sign off on a buyer broker agreement. You must establish the fee that you get paid. It does not necessarily mean that the buyer needs to pay that fee or will pay any fee at all. I would write that down. That's a very important talking point you guys are going to say a lot, right? This doesn't mean that you're going to pay me this. It doesn't even mean that I'm going to get paid this. It means that this is my fee that I'm established, and we're going to request this from the seller. All references to compensation will be prohibited in the MLS. Dude, the safest place to stay away from right now is like lab coat agents and like real estate mastermind and any of these like forums where nobody knows what they're talking about, by the way. Don't even get caught up on it. They are tripping, right? You can't say like, you can't give like hints. You can't be like broker friendly. You can't say anything in the MLS. Buyer brokers are not charged an MLS fee any longer. With the new CIS, Consumer Information Statement, designated agency is now available. We don't have this form yet. This form will be here by Thursday. There's a new CIS that's coming, and there's designated agency is now available. We maintain the same relationships as before, but now have an option to act as a designated agent or a dual disclosed agent. Designated agent, just remember, Kunal and Eddie. Kunal's got a listing, Eddie brings in the buyer. Dual disclosed agent. Kunal has that same listing and he's working with the buyer as well. I'm gonna stop. I want to stop, but I want to keep going because I feel like some questions will be answered. Seller side, new paperwork. There's a new listing agreement. Anyone on here that takes guys, hear me out. Go read the paperwork. It's easy, right? It's simple. Just go read these forms. I would write down all the forms I'm about to talk to you about, and I would make sure you know where to find them and you have read them. It's easy. Just do it, please, right? There is let's see here. There's a new listing agreement, right? This is to be used with all listings for sale, including MLS listings and office exclusives. This is the craziest part. The forms in the MLS are like not accurate. Like the ones that the MLS is giving us, the ones that EXP is giving us is the ones that the majority of the real estate industry is actually using. So the ones that are issued by Lauren, these are in the listing agreement is in .loop.
No, it is not in .loop.
Okay.
Just the buyer paperwork's in .loop.
Can we get that in .loop?
Yeah.
And then I saw in .loop is that going to be the same .loop account when we switch, or is it going to be a whole different one?
It's going to be the same one for you.
Right.
Your stuff's going to live in there.
Okay, so when I went in there, I found the buyer agreements really easily. Can you make the listing ones easy to find too? It says like updated NAR, whatever the title.
Yeah, I
was.
just have to update it because there's templates for like each MLS, so that just has to get added to every MLS. So I can do that. Perfect.
It should be the same form for every MLS, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, cool. So there's updating listing agreement. It'll be in .loop by the end of the day. The seller's disclosure is the same. It just is required now. So these are seller side new paperwork. There's a new listing agreement. There's an addendum. There's an amendment to listing agreement. If anyone has a current listing that's on the MLS, all active listings will require the amendment to remove broker to broker compensation. So if you have a listing, you're going to need that form signed for your listing. Moving forward, there's just a new listing agreement. Okay. Hey, Lauren, do you know where are we keeping the open house sign, or where do we find the open house sign?
So that's going to be available this week. I tried to go into EXP
Not
World on
available yet.
Friday and it was not available. Once it's available, I can drop it in the Slack channel, also put it updated on the checklist in the university.
The sign's going to be required to be displayed at all open houses. We just don't have it yet. This is what it looks like, just so you guys can get eyes on it. Read it, right? Just read it, go through it. I'm just going to do it right now. Attention prospective purchasers, please read this sign carefully. Actually, can I have I'm going to lose my voice in about 30 minutes. Can someone read this for me? For all of us?
Yeah, I can do it. Attention prospective purchasers, please read this sign carefully. This is to advise you that the agent who is conducting the open house represents seller and is required by law to promote the interests of the seller. Any information you give this agent is not considered confidential under New Jersey law and could be disclosed to the seller of this property. You, as the buyer, are entitled to have someone represent you as a buyer's agent if you are interested in this property. The duties of a buyer's agent include helping you evaluate the property, prepare an offer on the property, and negotiate it in your best interests. If you, as the buyer, are already exclusively represented by a buyer's agent, you are required to disclose this representation on the sign-in sheet. If you, as the buyer, are not already exclusively represented by a buyer's agent, please be advised that the open house agent is not precluded from being a disclosed dual agent or designated agent and can enter into any relationship with you as explained in the consumer information statement.
Cool. And then it talks about how, thank you, Ethan. I can't, I'll be dead in about 4 hours because I have a bunch of these today. Yo, what I love about this, who here wants to like not work with like the tire kickers anymore? Like who wants to work with like the most, hey guys, I'm going off script here. We beta tested this in Charleston, South Carolina with Zillow like 90 days ago, and 80% of consumers signed this, and 50% of those consumers started writing offers, got to bottom of funnel. So I think that this transparency, dude, I'm just looking at faces, man. Abish, Nick, Dylan, all these guys, you got Marla, whoever, Adrian, you're running around with all these people. What if you could like, dude, what if you could like spotlight the people that were actually going to buy, the most motivated? So if someone's not going to align with you and sign your paperwork, I consider that a blessing, you guys. Right? For me, when I'm prospecting, I want to know who my people are that want to transact. And more often than not, if you're not going to transact with me, I want like a full on like, yo, I'm not like, I want you to opt out so I don't have to follow up with you anymore. Is this making sense, guys? I love this, right? It also gets rid of procuring costs. Someone's working with like 4 realtors. They can't. Sound good, guys? All right, let me get back to my notes here. One second, guys. I'm pulling some stuff up for you guys. This is all happening so fast, and I wanted to bring this information to you as fast as possible. It would have taken me like another day to put together a really sexy deck for you guys. That's why I chose to just bring it to you guys immediately. All right. EXP's listing agreement. It's 2 pages. Really, really simple stuff. This is what it looks like. It's gonna be in .loop today. You can find it in EXP. You can Google it. You can find it wherever. Also, kudos to EXP for dude, they've got this stuff out before anyone else, man. And not only that, it like trumps anything the MLS has put. Jeffrey Kiss said, do not use anything sent out by the MLS because it may prompt problems. I'm not going to say what problem, but we don't think it's correct. So there it is. Listing price, very, very simple stuff. You got to put your commission in there. Cool. So on the seller side, there's new listing paperwork. You got to get a seller's disclosure signed. That's not new paperwork. If you have an active listing, which I think we have a couple, Deidre, whoever has a listing right now, you're going to need to have the amendment to the listing agreement. Also, a good place to find this stuff is probably our transaction coordinator Slack channel. Meg is like in there. She's working on all this stuff. By the way, shout out to Meg. She's working so hard for you guys to make this such a streamlined process. I can't even begin to tell you. Her and I were working on Saturday and Sunday. I already love that person. And your open house sign, just make sure that thing's displayed. Buyer side new paperwork. There is a, give me 1 second. I want to pull these up actually. All right, I'm showing my screen. Okay. So there's two types of agreements. Well, here's the buyer broker representation agreement. Okay, they're both here. You guys can see my screen versus buyer broker. Yes, Joe. Buyer broker representation agreement. Here's the buyer broker representation agreement. Now here's where we're at, guys. There's two new forms. There's a single property buyer broker representation agreement, and there's a buyer broker representation agreement. Can anyone tell me what word is missing from this title that used to be kind of scary?
Exclusive.
Who said that? Jill Tescon. Jill, she doesn't know about the cameras on, but that's all right. Jill, thank you. Is exclusive like a scary word, you guys? Talk to me.
Yeah.
Hydrating over here.
Yes, Joe.
All right, cool. Do you guys remember who's been on a training with me? There's words that we don't say, like contract. Hey guys, agreement. Yeah, paperwork, agreement. Sign. Hey, let's acknowledge this paperwork. Sign versus acknowledge. You guys with me? Can we like ease the buyer into acknowledging this form? Hey man, this is exclusive. This is a contract. You have to sign it right now. Do you think you're kind of fucked if you say it that way, right? Like, can we like ease it? You guys are in sales. Make people feel comfortable, right? Hey, you know what? There's some paper. I'm going to show you our script. It's awesome. If you were at the Red Bank event, my script was like this long. Good news, I shortened it to like this long, thanks to the help of ChatGPT. So it's going to be super easy. But this is the buyer broker representation agreement. Will someone volunteer to read the opening statement and number 1?
Sorry. This agreement is designated to allow a buyer to engage a qualified licensed professional for the purpose of viewing property and receiving contract negotiation and advocacy services throughout the entire real estate offer and purchase process for the types of property described below. Number 1, properties. The undersigned buyer engages the undersigned brokerage firm to represent the buyer concerning buyer's purchase of the below selected real properties situated in the following locations. Any property introduced to buyer by broker in the geographic area shall be referred to as the property.
And Kunal, what are we going to check here if I'm looking to buy a single family house in Short Hills?
Residential.
And then what geographic area are you gonna put?
I would just put the whole county.
Sure.
S.
Sure. I love that. I love that. You can put New Jersey. If they're like, I might go to Cherry Hill. Be like, all right, man, I'm putting New Jersey. But if they're like, if someone's looking in Manasquan, New Jersey, I'm going to put Monmouth and Ocean counties. Right? Cool. Guys, I hope everyone is locked in on this because you're going to need to know how to explain this. We're going to read it together because that's how we do things. I'm going to be calling on you guys to read through this. So, Ethan, will you read number 2, please?
Subject to section 9, this agreement shall begin on the date last signed by buyer and broker and will automatically end on blank or upon the closing or termination of any then pending transaction, whichever is later.
All right, what are we putting in that blank right there? When is this agreement going to end?
3 to 6 months
I would do 6
from
months.
current date, 6 months.
Correct.
Yeah.
6 months. Okay. Back to calling on people. Deirdre, will you read number 3, please? Marla, will you read number
There we
3,
go. Okay,
please?
I got him there, sorry.
All right, Marla, you're
Agency-
doing number 4.
Agency disclosure, the agency relationship between buyer and broker determines how broker will work on buyer's behalf. Broker's agency relationship with broker is disclosed and documented in the separate disclosure.
What disclosure form is that separate disclosure form they are referring to there? Begins with a C.
Oh, the CIS?
Correct. Right? This is your opportunity to explain to them that you work for them as a buyer's agent, right, guys? Up here in the beginning, this agreement is designed to allow buyer to engage with a qualified licensed professional for the purpose of viewing, receiving contract negotiation, advocacy services through the entire real estate offer and purchase process for the types of property described below. Is that essentially what the consumer is looking for? Yeah, that's what we're going to give them. Marla, will you read number 4 for us?
Broker will exercise good faith efforts to A, locate and present suitable properties to buyer, B, tour and prepare detailed analysis of specific properties per buyer's request, C, help buyers prepare, negotiate, and secure a contract to purchase one or more properties, D, cooperate with any real estate licensee working with the seller to facilitate and complete buyer's purchase of the property, and E, perform other services as needed and requested by buyer.
Cool. So Marla, if you're talking to a potential person, they're like, well, what do you do anyway? Can you be like, oh, well, number 4, this is what this is what I do. Is that cool?
Yes.
Dylan O, number 5, for best experience.
For best experience, buyers encouraged to be accompanied by a broker or on buyer's first visit to the property and to conduct all negotiations for the property in good faith. And exclusively through broker, buyer understands that signing more than one buyer-broker representation agreement for any overlapping period of time could expose buyer to liability for paying additional fees. Buyer is not a party to any active exclusive buyer-broker representation agreement. Buyer is a party to one active non-exclusive buyer's brokers agreement.
So what is this telling us, Dylan O?
It's saying that you got to only work with me if you're signing this.
How cool is that, guys? I'm looking
That's
at
good.
Gina right now. She's been in the business for a minute, a beast, right? Imagine they had these a while ago, so you actually knew who your people were. When Chris Stiles says, hey, who are your top 3 people? Gun to your head, who's transacting in the next 10 days? Do you think you guys more confidently can know who your people are? When Zillow sends you 20 people this month, do you think you can just... I love this stuff, man. That's what I loved about listing agreements. As soon as I would go to a listing, like, okay, I went on a lot of listing appointments, you guys. People go, yeah, Joe, we don't want to commit to anybody, but if you have a buyer, feel free to bring them. Am I going to spend the majority of my valuable time working for that seller? No. The seller that says, hey, Joe, I'm going to sign up. Yeah, dude, I'm psyched. I know you're the man. I'm going to sign off on this. Let's get started. When are pictures? am I gonna like do everything within my power to help that consumer? And I'm so amped to work for them. That's what this turns into, guys. This is good. This is really good, man. And with the amount of consumers you guys speak to, you're not allowed to cherry pick Zillow leads, but they're going to tell you who's transacting and who's not. And if they're out signing 4 or 5 buyer broker forms, is that somebody you want to be working with right now? Or do you want to go spend time with your family on Saturday and go to that birthday party? Or go door knock for the one buyer you put out 4 consecutive offers for and they lost out? All right. Ashley, wait, what number? Can you read number 6?
Broker fee. Buyer agrees to pay broker as provided below. The broker fee for any properties involving broker's efforts. No broker fee is due if broker's efforts involve only locating and presenting suitable properties for consideration. The broker fee is not set by law and is fully negotiable. The broker fee shall be due and payable upon successful closing. If buyer enters into agreement to purchase any property within blank days following the expiration or early cancellation of this agreement, then buyer shall pay the broker fee to broker upon closing. The broker fee shall be in U.S. currency and paid at the time and as a condition of closing. This agreement shall act as escrow instructions for payment of the broker fee to broker. This section 6 shall survive the expiration or earlier cancellation of this agreement. The broker fee is, and then check 1, blank percentage of the gross purchase price of the property as reflected on the final settlement statement, or exactly blank.
Okay, this first blank, what are we putting here? Purchase the property within blank days following the expiration date. If buyer enters an agreement to purchase any property. I think we lost Ashley.
I'd throw in 180 days.
Sure, I love it. That's exactly what I would do. So that's the property that you brought them to, you were writing offers on it, things like that. What this also says is, I don't know if you guys caught this, but it also says that like you're not due a fee by like emailing them a property. Right? Actually, who answered that last question?
Doug.
All right, Doug, what are we putting here? Broker fee, check only 1. Which one are you checking and what are you putting?
I'm checking percentage and I'm putting 3.
Okay. Nick Aarons, which one are you checking and what are you putting? Oh, you're driving.
Top 3%.
Cool. Right here, it says the broker fee is not set by law and is fully negotiable. Doug, if you really like this person and they're pre-approved and they're buying in the town you specialize in, and so far they've taken your direction and they ask you to do it for 2.5, would you do that?
It's going to all come down to the circumstances. If I know that I'm going to get them in and out quick, I'd consider doing it. But if I know that they're going to be a pain in the ass or it's going to be a pain in the ass nightmare property, then probably not.
Cool. I think the point we're trying to get across here is that it's negotiable. I'm going to stop right here. Someone tell me why I'm going through this with you. What's that? Oh, someone tell me why we're reading this line by line right now.
Because we're gonna have to have the same conversation with the consumer.
Yeah, guys, part of your script is going through this. Okay. If you guys can I say that on Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday and in September and August and October that the majority of realtors are going to not have read this. They're going to meet consumers and they're going to is the consumer allowed to ask questions? You guys? Yes. Yeah, dude, it's our North Star. So should we be prepared to explain these things? By you guys reading this right now, I bet you, whether 30 people on this call, I bet you there's going to be like 100 people on our MLS who have like read this. Is everybody with me? You know what I found is when I'm scared of something, I gotta like dive into it and understand it. And by the way, guys, stress is just not being prepared. Do you ever like not prepared for something and you're super stressed out and you sit down and you prepare for it and then you feel really fucking good and you're like amped to go and do it? I have so much time in this right now that I'm like fully confident and amped and full of energy to help you guys because I've prepared. And so my job here is to prepare you guys, and I want you guys to have the same mindset. So far, is this thing scary? No, Joe. Elizabeth, can you read collecting broker fee from seller? So guys, it goes right from broker fee, super scary, to like, how are we going to get this from the seller, right? Problem, solution. Elizabeth, will you read that for us, please?
Yes, starting from credit to buyer, correct, right? Credit to buyer.
Collecting, yeah, that whole grayed out, like looks like an old school coupon cutout. If you could read that, that'd be great.
Yeah, credit to buyer at closing. Buyer may choose to negotiate that the broker fee be paid in whole or in part by the seller through a seller credit to buyer at closing. At buyer's instruction, a broker will write this request into buyer's offer to purchase the property and direct seller to broker compensation. Buyer authorizes broker to request that the broker fee be paid in whole or in part by the seller to broker at closing. Any such arrangement will be memorialized in a separate compensation agreement as between the seller and broker. Buyer understands that broker cannot communicate with the seller without first receiving the seller's broker permission to do so. Any amount paid by the seller toward the broker fee shall reduce the amount of the broker fee to be paid by buyer. In no event will broker retain a broker fee that exceeds what is specified in section 6. And broker shall show all property listings that fit buyer's criteria unless directed differently in section 7.
That was great. Can someone tell me what one sentence stands out to me the most here? It's in part B. Do you guys see what I highlighted? Can someone read that out? Buyer understands that broker cannot communicate with the seller without first receiving the seller's broker's permission to do so, right? Cool. Now, additional terms. Will someone read number 8, other buyers?
Other buyers. Buyer acknowledges that broker may represent multiple buyers interested in purchasing the same property as buyer.
Number 9. Beach, go for it. Cancellation.
Cancellation. Either party may cancel this agreement effective upon delivery of written notice to the other party unless buyer is under contract to purchase the property. By signing below, the buyer and broker agree to the terms set forth in this agreement.
Does anyone have any questions about this agreement? Kunal.
So if you scroll down a little bit.
More?
No, right there. So we're in number 5. So why do they even have it blank? Is that because maybe somebody has an agreement for a certain county with one agent?
Yeah, I think it's great because it's like, imagine you went on like a Tinder date and you're like, hey, how many other people are you dating right now? Well, 3 guys. You're like, okay, you know what? This might not work right now. Amazing. Yeah, man. Like so what it's doing is we're just shining the light, right? We're just shining the light on what's actually happening. Do you remember when I spoke in Red Bank? I talked about over education, over disclosure, over communication. This is what's great for you guys. I swear to God, man, you guys are in such an awesome position. You have so many live connections from consumers at Zillow, and you're going to meet some of them. They're not going to sign it. Those are the ones that are not motivated, and that's okay. You get to drop them in the pond or to go just find the really motivated people. Abish.
So going back to that part that you highlighted in the broker compensation about the being able to speak to the broker, can I just understand? So Is it basically you're directly speaking to you're not speaking to the listing agent about compensation until you have this signed, or am I misunderstanding that?
Good question. I believe the way I've interpreted this is that we are going to request compensation in writing through an offer to purchase. So everyone's talking about, well, I'm going to call the listing agent and see if they're offering out a commission, blah, blah, blah. Just write a really great offer and put it in writing. Does that make sense? Who here is a listing agent? Who here has ever listed a house? Who here entertains verbal offers when you list a house? Nobody, right? Get the fuck out of here with that shit. Write it up. Hey, yo, Joe, I see you think they'll take. Hey man, write it up. By the way, the script is when I sat down with my seller, the first thing they told me that was important to them was they will entertain any and all reasonable offers in writing, right? So this is basically saying that we're going to put it in writing and present it. And then the seller side will have, the seller will receive, can I communicate with the seller without first receiving the seller's broker's permission to do so, right? And that's going to happen in writing. Chris.
Hey, can I jump in, ask a
Yeah.
couple questions in the chat real quick?
Yeah, of course. Well, actually, yeah. Go ahead.
Real quick, if we insert a commission concession to pay ourselves into the offer, does the property have to be appraised for that amount? Yes, I believe so.
I think there's going to be two options. I think there's a concession. So it says here, right? All right, collecting broker fee. There's two ways. Credit to buyer at closing. Buyer may choose to negotiate that the broker fee be paid in whole or in part by the seller through a seller credit to the buyer at closing. I think that's a concession. And there's also a direct seller to broker compensation.
Correct.
What I think is going to happen, guys, is I'm going to show you guys what you're going to put in your contract. Does that make sense? We're going to ask for a concession. I think it's going to work two ways. It may have to appraise, or it also may just be a direct payment, and it'll show up on the seller side of the settlement statement.
Yeah. In the event, say we ask 3%, in the event that they agreed to 2%, the buyer pays out the rest, correct?
Correct. Well,
okay.
Everything's negotiable, right? And,
Yep.
and that's why I want to kind of get through this presentation and then go do questions after, because a lot of them are going to be answered. But guys, everything's negotiable. And I think what I want to say is this, guys, is establish your value. If you guys run around and sell houses for 2%, 1.5%, it's not going to work. You're not going to be in the business very long. And you guys are worth it. Like, I wouldn't be spending my time with you guys if I didn't believe in you. And if you guys, I don't hang out with losers. I always say that, right? Like, you guys are winners. Like, establish your value, and it's going to be negotiable. Does that make sense? That's why I love that I asked before, Doug. I'm like, what are you going to charge? He's like 3%. Essentially what he's doing, has anyone ever negotiated before? You got to start high. Am I right? Like, like if he starts at 3, maybe they get him to 2.5. I don't really know. And then what's going to happen is, this is the part where I need you guys to just be warriors and jump in there and go for it, right? Be confident, right? And then submit it to the seller. By the way, if you put in a bomb offer, is the seller going to accept your offer and pay your fee? Probably. I mean, I would. It's all just a math equation, because if you guys really think about it, what happens now is, when the seller's considering which offer to accept, price, terms and conditions. What are terms and conditions up until today? Our appraisal, home inspection, credits, concessions, right? Are we paying cash? Are we getting a mortgage? Now, what's the buyer broker fee comes into play? Are we going to be on the phone? Chris Stiles is going to have a house listed. I'm going to be on the phone during a highest and best and being like, is 0.5% going to be the difference of your buyer getting a house? Right? Let me do some math here real quick. So on $1 million house, 0.5% is how much?
5,000.
$5,000. Just get your buyer to offer a number higher than $5,000, you guys. See where I'm going with this? So we're gonna talk, this is what we're gonna talk through. There's gonna be negotiating skills that are gonna need to happen here. You're gonna be negotiating with both the seller agent and also with the buyer, right? So we're gonna talk through those things, right? And ultimately, you're not trying to get the buyer to go higher. The buyer's goal is to get the offer accepted, correct? And you need to do whatever you need to do to get that offer accepted. Now let's keep going on these forms and let's do questions at the end because I don't want to lose. There's kind of a cadence here, and I think I might answer a bunch of them. And I have, after the forms, we go right into scripts and rebuttals. Cool. So everyone sees the buyer broker representation agreement. Someone remind me the word that was not up here that's been removed. That's scary.
Exclusive.
Exclusive. Now, if you have your buyer sign this form and you explain it to them, do you think that if I explain this form really well to a buyer, they'll sign it and start looking at houses with me, Deidre? I don't know if she can unmute herself.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Easy peasy, right? Right? Yep. By the way, guys, can I tell you something? I was at the Jersey Shore 3 weeks ago with my son. We had to sign a form to go into some seaside boardwalk bungee ride situation. I have to sign a form when I download a book on Audible, I feel like. Can we all agree that my dentist makes me sign something every time I get my teeth cleaned? This is the new norm, right? So, by the way, another script, I would write this down. Hey, by the way, you're a stranger. I'm a stranger. We're going to another stranger's house. I just need to acknowledge this, know who you are, and explain how we work together. Do you think that's unreasonable? Do you guys ever think about that? Like, you meet a stranger, you're a stranger, you go into another stranger's house, and no one signs anything or any forms or says who they are or identifies who they are. They ever think that's a little weird besides me? Well, now we're doing that. So now there's another form. Now, this form right here. Ethan, if I have a buyer sign this form the first time I meet them, or even better yet, if I pop it into .loop and I send it out for them to acknowledge before I even meet them. And by the way, Meg is working on a Zap, so you can just enter in a Google form and it goes right to you as an emailed PDF attachment. And it also goes directly to the consumer to sign off on it. Right? This is what we're working on. Now, Ethan, I have my buyer sign off on this. Do I have to have them sign any more of these ever for the entire time we work together? Or can I just show them houses and concentrate on them achieving their goal?
You don't have to have them sign anything else for the next 6 months.
That is the correct answer, you guys. Now, there's another form. What's this one called, Ethan?
Single property buyer broker representation agreement.
Cool. This one is 1 page. It has the property length of agreement, which is just this house that I'm showing you. It's just this. I like this for open houses. It has agency disclosure, broker fee. That's it. What does this one not have that I really like that's on this one?
The last line of B.
Well, the whole part about collecting the broker fee for the seller. If I'm a buyer and I see this, I'm like a little concerned if I see this. What I love about this form, the buyer broker representation agreement, it dives into broker efforts, best experience. This verbiage is from it describes collecting broker fees from the seller. This is what I think is the most important part. Would you guys agree? Is that going to make the buyer feel better? So when you guys are sending out your forms to be signed, you can send out a single property buyer representation agreement. And then this buyer is only acknowledging that they are working with you on this one property that you are going to show them, one property. Who here rocks Zillow Flex? Raise your hand. When you go meet that person at that first house, are you required to just show them that one house, or are you required to go and show them more houses and get into a relationship with them, become their best friend, prove to them that you're their realtor for life? Deidre, which is it?
Second.
Second. So, Deidre.
Yes.
You have to send one of these out or have one of these signed initially.
Yeah.
Which one are you choosing to present to the buyer?
The one that's on the screen right now, buyer broker representation. The one that makes you work with them for longer, not just the one single property.
I agree. And If they say, what, hey, Deidre, what if I hate your guts in a week? What can you say to them?
You can just put it in writing that you hate my guts and you can fire me.
Shoot me an email, shoot me a text
Yep.
message. I don't care. Guys, don't
Yep.
overthink it. Someone said to me, like, Joe Oz, what if, has anyone, I don't know who's been in business long enough, or if you take, I know Chris Stiles knows the answer to this question. Who's had a listing and the seller, first of all, when you sit at a listing appointment and they're like, yo, Joe, what if I don't like you in like a month? The script is, I used to be like, well, you're gonna like me, I'm the best, and Bob, I'm available. But then I realized this person might be fucking crazy. And I'm like, you know what? If you don't like me in a month, I bet you I don't like you. And you know what? For my mental health, it's probably a good idea for us to go our separate ways. Would you agree with that, Deidre? And Chris Stiles, have you ever had someone just be like, just, I want to cancel. I want, but you know what, dude? Fine. I'll take an email, a text message, whatever. Because guess what? You guys don't want to work with those people anyway.
Yeah, I have no desire to work with people who don't want to work with me, so it's probably the best decision.
So now, by the end of today, bear with us, Meg's going to have a Google form with both of these links. You can send either one out to get signed. Make sense, guys? I talk about having a mobile office, having go to Staples and getting that like plastic little tiny folding thing. This is what I did. All my stuff was in there. I had COs in there, CO applications, whatever. Have both of these available. Guys, go to, I don't have it here. Get it, go buy a clipboard. Everyone go buy a clipboard. They're like $1.99 at Staples. Be there, ready to like be a realtor, dude. Have a clipboard, be like, hey guys, this is blah, 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 right? Just be ready to go, man. Be a realtor. Have a clipboard. Go over that shit with them. They got to sign it, right? Now, single property. I want everyone signing this thing for obvious reasons. It's a better form. It explains things better, and it like locks them into working with you. Now, are we gonna, Deidre, are you gonna meet someone and be like, I'm not signing it. When you get pushback, you'd be like, you know what? We're here right now. This isn't a choice. I have to show you, this is law brought down by the Department of Justice. I have a single property buyer broker representation agreement. If you'd like to sign off on this, we are just attached to each other for this one property. And then after that, we can have a conversation about what it would look like moving forward. And by the way, guys, my buyer, not mine, I'm sorry, I apologize. Our buyer presentation that I taught you guys and trained you guys on, that's when you have the opportunity. That person needs to be sat down and gone through a buyer consultation. Would you agree?
Yes.
80% are just going to sign this thing. They're going to be like, cool, man, awesome. They're going to sign this thing, right? 20% are going to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. It's going to get weird in front of that house because they didn't, you're going to know, you know what I mean? Either they sign it online through the dot loop situation or here. And when you're in front, it gets weird to be like, hey, and I'm going to give you guys rebuttals. I'm going to get through all this. But hey, you know what? I have a single property buyer representation agreement just on this property. We can open this door. We can see this. No matter who you see this house with, even the listing agent, I would write this one down. Even the listing agent, you have to sign this because the listing agent works for the seller, right? They can't work for both without identifying themselves. Now they're working as a buyer agent as well as a dual disclosed agency. And when that happens, they don't have a fiduciary responsibility to you.
Can I just reiterate something, guys? Do not show a property without this agreement signed. That's not like a request. Do not do that. That is against the rules now. Like that is law. Don't just, oh, they won't sign it, I'll let them in this time. Do not do that.
Why?
Because it's against the law now.
Correct. Guys, I'm telling this right now. I'm not going to court. There's going to be a lot of, I predict, Chris is saying this because we predict there's going to be a lot of more, there's going to be more lawsuits, dude.
100%. I think there is, just so we're clear, guys, there's going to be other agents out there and they're not as prepared as we are for this, and they're not going to do this thing. They're going to go do what they've been doing last week. They're going to keep on doing that. We're not going to be part of the pack. You 100% have to have this signed before you show a house.
Yeah, it's not an option, guys. So, all right, cool. let me share my screen here. I'm probably gonna go a little bit over. But I think this is valuable. I hope you guys find this valuable. NAR 3.0 buyer agency driveway conversation format. Who wants to read this script for us that they're going to share starting on? Elizabeth's going to read it. Elizabeth's going to start sharing this on Thursday.
Before we get started, I need to inform you about some recent changes due to the National Association of Realtors new settlement. These changes affect how realtors work with buyers, specifically in presenting our relationship duties and services. This discussion happens at the beginning of our relationship and you'll need to acknowledge it. The main goal is to prevent confusion and ensure transparency about how realtors work for you. We must explain how agents are paid and clarify our services and fiduciary responsibilities. We'll go over some paperwork now. This doesn't mean you have to pay anything or collect a retainer. It's to protect you as a consumer. The agency agreement will answer many common questions up front, so you understand how the system works when you start. I know paperwork isn't exciting, but it's necessary. After this, it's all fun.
What do you think, Elizabeth? Can you do that?
Gotcha. So this is like the script, right in person.
Yeah,
Correct.
we're gonna be doing script practice this week. I have to, Chris and I will put that together. We're gonna be doing a script practice, probably one, I don't know, we're just gonna throw it together. Expect you guys to hop in there. We're just gonna role play it, right? Who here thinks that 99% of realtors starting on Thursday are not gonna know what to do and they're gonna be freaking out and not know what to say and look like dum-dums? Yeah. Is this stuff easy, guys? Cool. Let me grab the next one. Guys, I want you to know this. I would write this down. This is a script. This is not an option. It's a requirement. That's why I'm explaining this to you. Are you going to get the buyer? It's like, yeah, let's go. Can you just open up the house? Hey, this is not an option. This is a requirement. This is why I'm explaining it to you. $48 million settlement in Wisconsin because of this. Right? This is the law. This isn't like, you guys know me. I don't know. I'm a punk rocker. I'm like anarchy. I'm like F the police. I'm all those things. Not right now. I got a business to run. I got a nice shirt on. I got glasses on, right? Deidre knows. Deidre knows me since I'm like 8 years old, by the way. Probably 6 years old. Anyway, Burke Township Police got phoned a few times. I will say that during sleepovers. But that's not what we're talking about right now. As I see Lauren shake her head at me. She's right. The consumer can't say no if they want to see the house. If you want to see this house, you have to do this. Do you guys understand what's coming out of my mouth right now? No
Guys,
matter no matter who you talk to, you're signing an agreement. This is not an option. It's a requirement. That's why I'm explaining it to you. The consumer can't say no if they want to see this house. No matter who you're talking to, agents. Are there going to be agents that say, no, you don't have to sign that bullshit? Someone shake their head, yes, please. There's going to be realtors that say, no, you do not have to sign that bullshit. And what are you going to say? It's not an option, it's a requirement. And if they won't sign it, what are we going to do? Elizabeth, what are you going to do?
Just thank you. Nice to meet you. Have a go.
I disagree. I think what Elizabeth's going to do, she's going to do this.
Oh, single.
Hey, social media, ¿cómo estás? Just in case you know, when you meet with me, no bueno if you don't sign the agreement, right?
No.
My son's in Spanish immersion. I'm trying, right? We live in San Juan Capistrano.
You bring up a good point. Is there one in Spanish by any chance?
Oh, geez. No. I'm just kidding. That is a good point. We need that immediately. I'm going to write that down and get that for you.
If you have a script cast, that'd be great too.
By the way, if you drag and drop, hey, can I teach you something, Elizabeth?
Yeah.
Drag and drop that into chat GPT and say, can you translate this into Spanish? It'll be done for you in 30 seconds.
Smart.
By the way, if anyone's not using chat GPT and paying them $20 a month to run your entire life, you're absolutely blowing it. It's like riding a horse instead of a car. If you spend 15 minutes every night on chat GPT instead of like Netflix, your whole entire life will change. ChatGPT like sewed a button on my shirt the other day. It was insane. Okay. There's no two ways about it. They either sign it or they don't. Cool, guys? All right. Guess what else I gotta talk to you guys about? Has anyone ever seen this before? Hi. Hey, Mary, this is Joe with Oz Group. I saw you highlighted 123 Main Street. Do you think we're gonna have to mention this on the call when we take a Zillow call? Yes, yes. At the end of the script, Kunal, will you read this for me? The green part?
Yep. Before we end the call, I just need to quickly go over some new requirements from the National Association of Realtors recent settlement. Have you heard about these changes? Basically, NAR now requires us to be upfront about how realtors are compensated, the services we provide, and our duties to you. It's not a big deal, not much has changed, but you do need to review some paperwork and acknowledge them by digitally signing before we can start viewing homes. Don't worry, this doesn't mean you have to pay me or that you're obligated to work with me. I'll send you the paperwork via email for you to sign digitally, and I'll bring a copy to our meeting as well, just in case that's easier for you.
Is that easy? No, you think that's easier or do you think that's hard? You scared?
No, it's easy.
I'm scared. Yeah, guess what, guys? Everyone's thinking, well, what are they gonna say? What are they gonna do? Blah, blah, blah. That's where you guys have to report in the Slack channel. Does that make sense? This script, can anyone agree that this flex script works on setting appointments? Would anyone say yes?
Yes.
Do you think that we had this on day one and it looked just like this? Or do you think we had to like fail forward and figure it out? We had to fail forward and figure it out. All right. All right, objections. We are going to have a list of objections and rebuttals. We have them. They're like ready to go. And they sound kind of like this. I don't want to commit to anything right now. Actually, I'm just going to share my screen. I appreciate everyone participating and helping me read because I do lose my voice when I scream for 2 hours in a row. I try to give you guys as all my energy. So I appreciate you guys. So Ashley, this first objection, will you read the objection and the rebuttal?
I don't want to commit to anything right now. I totally get that. The agreement is just to make sure everything's clear between us. It doesn't mean you're locked into anything or have to pay upfront fees. It's all about transparency and making sure you get the best service possible.
Abish, will you read this objection and this rebuttal, please?
Objection, I don't want to pay any extra fees. Rebuttal, no worries. There are no extra fees for you. The agreement just explains how agents get paid, usually by the seller. It's all about keeping things clear and straightforward.
Cool. Adrian, will you read the next one that I highlighted?
I've never had to sign anything like this before. Rebuttal. I hear you. This is a new requirement to help protect you and ensure transparency. It's just a way to make sure everyone knows what to expect and how things work, avoiding any misunderstandings later on.
Cool. Michael, can you read this one that I highlighted? Good to see you, buddy.
1 second. I'm doing it from my phone as well, so.
That's okay. Anybody else want to hop in and save Michael?
It won't let me to zoom in.
I want to see if I even like working with you first. That's fair. You're not required to work with me after today. In fact, you can cancel at any time. It's just to outline our working relationship from the start. It helps ensure we're on the same page and that you get the best service.
Nick Gary, will you read this one for us? I don't see why it's necessary.
Yep, I don't see why it's necessary.
This is a new legal requirement to make sure everything is transparent and you're protected. It's about making sure you know exactly what services we provide and how we get paid. It's all in your best interest.
Nick, are you starting to see the same vibe here, right? Like it's the same message, right? It's to protect the consumer. It's about transparency, right? Teacher, will you read this one?
Okay, I am not comfortable signing legal documents. Rebuttal, I get it. This document is here to protect you and outline our mutual expectation. It's straightforward and I can walk you through it, each part to make sure that you're comfortable with it.
Cool. Who have I not called on? Ethan, can you read this? He's cruising around.
I got it to zoom in if you want me to read it.
Go for it.
I understand. Oh, me or?
Ethan, you go, and then Mike, you do the next one.
So I want to keep my options open with other agents. Cool. I understand signing this agreement doesn't stop you from exploring other options. It's just about making sure we have a clear understanding from the start. If you decide to work with someone else, we can talk about it.
Ethan, if they say they're working with another agent, are they telling the truth or are they lying?
They are lying.
Don't know you yet. They don't want to commit with you yet. They just don't know how awesome you are and they haven't looked at a few properties with you.
Exactly.
Doug, will you read this one for us? I'm worried about
being pressured into something. This agreement is actually here to prevent any pressure. It defines our roles and responsibilities clearly, so there are no surprises. It's all about making sure you're informed and comfortable with the process.
Thank you. Will you read the next one? I love your projecting voice.
I don't want to sign this. I understand your hesitation, but this isn't optional. It's the law. This is why I'm explaining it to you. No matter which realtor meets you in front of this home, you'll need to have this document signed and acknowledged. It's about ensuring transparency and protecting your interests.
I also wanted you to read that one because I know you're not going to take any shit. So I like that. Let's see, Elizabeth, will you read this next one?
I already signed this with Zillow. I understand, however, Zillow requires us as local agents to inform you about the specific changes and requirements in our MLS. This agreement is specific to our working relationship and ensures that you are fully aware of our services and responsibilities. Every agent needs to have their own agreement signed before working with you to meet these new legal requirements.
Okay, Elizabeth, why do you think that rebuttal is important? Why do you think that objection and rebuttal is important?
Well, I know that they have to have something signed with Zillow prior, and so this is maybe them like confusing them that that's the same document and it's not.
Oh my God, you are so smart. Elizabeth, I remember talking to you for the first time. I don't know if you remember this when you called in through Humanize. I remember like where I was and I was like, wait, I need to have this person on my team. I want you to know, I remember thinking that. I know where I was standing the first time I spoke to you. And I'm so happy to be talking to you right now. Zillow is going to be, in order to cover Zillow's butt, they're going to be sending out a touring agreement, right? I believe that's going to keep them in. And by the way, kudos to Zillow for starting the conversation. They were the first ones to do this. They beta tested it. And a lot of what they already did, like they crawled so we can walk kind of thing or run or whatever. But there's a form that's going to go out that Zillow is going to have the consumer sign. In most markets, it's not set. I don't know if Chris might say something. He might know something that I don't know, but it's not set to go out in our market on the 1st. So it's not, but it might, right? So be aware that something might come from Zillow for them to sign off on, and that does not matter because this is governed by all of the local MLSs. So that's cool. Oh, that's awesome. Zillow sent you that. That's Zillow's form, and Zillow's instructed us to give our local MLS form. Zillow is, if you can imagine, all over the entire country, and every single MLS Department of Banking in New Jersey, it's all different. Chris, did you want to chime in here?
Yeah, it's I just put it out there. It's Nick Aarons. I hope that answers your question. I know you put that in the chat, but it's our job to inform the consumer, not Zillow's job or anybody else's. So this is just part of how we have to handle things moving forward. It's our job, and we should take pride in. This was obviously a big issue for the consumer, so we should take a lot of pride in being, making sure that we're taking care of them and being fully transparent. So no, we're not going to rely on Zillow to do that.
Chris Styles, since you know everything, why don't you read this one?
I don't want to sign anything just to see a home. I understand your concern. However, you are required by law to sign this to see any homes listed on the MLS by a licensed real estate broker in New Jersey. The good news is that by signing this, it allows me to request my fee from the seller when we decide to make an offer on a home, which is the standard practice and always has been.
Do you like that one, Chris?
It is not standard practice anymore, sir.
Wait, what?
Just anything about being standard practice that the seller pays for it. I think that's what we're trying to get away from. Right?
All right. Thank you. That's why I asked you. You can create your own objections or rebuttals if you want. Anyway, what I like about this, thank you for that. I'm just being a goofball. We're telling them, if I don't want to sign this is a really nice way. You're acknowledging how they feel. I understand your concern. However, you're required by law to sign this to see any homes listed on the MLS by a licensed real estate broker in New Jersey. The good news is by signing this, it allows me to request my fee from the seller when we decide to make an offer on a home. Can we all agree? I would write this down. I would think on this. I would noodle on this. If you get friction or if you have an apprehensive consumer when it comes to signing this, do you think that it's your job? Well, hold on. If they have concerns about this and they don't understand it and they're confused, that's an opportunity for you to sit down and educate a consumer. If they don't understand, and by the way, when people get upset, it's fear. They don't understand fear. I don't understand. I'm scared. Am I going to owe money? If you understand where the reaction comes from, and we can acknowledge that and say, you know what? There's been a lot of changes to when's the last time you bought a house? 20 years ago. When's the last time you bought a house? I've never bought a house. Holy shit. That's exactly why we should sit down. Let's look at this house. We'll sign off on this. We'll do a single buyer agency agreement. We'll sign off on this thing. And then why don't we sit down and why don't we go through my buyer consultation so I can explain to you all the changes that have happened since, the last time I bought a house that I live in was like 3 years ago. Has things changed since 3 years ago in the real estate industry? Since the last time I bought a house? Yes. So can we see this as an opportunity? If they're pushing back, and I'd say, hey, the apprehensiveness that I hear in your voice is telling me there's a lot you don't understand about this process. Why don't we sit down and why don't we look at this house? I'll talk to you a little bit about me. You can learn a little about me. We can become friends. And after this, why don't we sit down and I'll take you through what that process looks like now. And and you know what? I'm going to show you how you can save money, not pay more. So let's check out this house.
So we're going to see some like trends, and there's going to be some people that are more successful at having these getting signed than others. It's not the leads, guys. If we're not able to get these signs, it's that we're not communicating properly with the clients. And then just real quick, I don't want to sign anything just to see a home, or I've never had to do this before. Hey guys, based off of everything you're hearing and everything, all the work we've put into this, if nobody else is getting this signed, aren't those the people that really need your help? Because isn't this about like full transparency to a consumer? So if you know a consumer is walking around without this transparency, isn't that more of a reason to want to work with them and fully inform them?
Chris, will you read this next one? This kind of goes right into what you're saying right now.
Yeah. I don't want to sign or pay anything. They don't see the value. You should move to a buyer's consultation. I understand your concern. This is exactly why we should have a home buying consultation after viewing this home. If you're unaware of these changes, it's important to go through the updated buyer process to prepare you for your home search. There are many intricacies involved in purchasing a home, even for those who have bought and sold before.
Keep going.
Why don't we do this? Acknowledge this form by signing it. We'll view this home, and then we can arrange a buyer's consultation. I'll explain how I can find you a home on or off the market and save you money, including on commission fees. By signing this form, it doesn't mean that you have to pay me or collect a retainer. It doesn't cost you any money, and you're not required to work with me if you choose not to. I don't want to sign anything. They're pushing back excessively. I understand your concern. This is exactly why we should have a home buying consultation after viewing this home. If you're unaware of these changes, then I
This is
just
the same. This is the same one. I was just working through it differently. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same one. I was working through all these. And then on the sell side, we've already gone through these, but we're gonna have these. We're gonna send these back out to you. But essentially, we're still compensating a buyer's agent. It will now be requested on the offer to purchase paperwork. The amount is no longer predetermined by the seller at the listing table. We will review the compensation as we would price, terms, and conditions when reviewing offers. Don't worry, I'll be able to walk you through the process.
Quick thing on that, guys. Let's not give our sellers the impression that they're not going that there's not going to be any compensation out of their pocket to the buyers. That may end up being the case, but we want to fully prepare them that those compensation negotiations will happen from the buyers. It's not your job to negotiate the buyer's commission. It's just your job to negotiate yours commission, but don't let them think that there's nothing going to be paid out on that.
I have a couple other things to cruise through here with you guys. The importance of a bulletproof buyer presentation. We've trained over and over and over about what your buyer presentation should look like. Make sure you have a buyer presentation. You're ready to go through it, just like a listing presentation. Rental transactions, our brokers will not participate in broker-to-broker compensations. As listing agents, we cannot share our commissions with other brokers. Compensation should be negotiated with each client separately. Landlord and tenant to pay fees to their individual brokers. Broker fee and what to know, not set by laws and is negotiable. Fee for services must come from the buyer or at the direction of the buyer to request from the seller. We will show all properties that fit the buyer unless directed otherwise in writing. We will be paid from closing by the buyer as a fee, as a credit to the buyer from the seller, a direct payment from the seller on the closing disclosure. We are going to ask for the buyer broker fee via concessions. I'm tooling around looking for it. You guys are familiar with this slide? Take a picture, write it down, tattoo it on your body. Seller to credit buyer, XXX at close of escrow to satisfy buyer's contractual agreement with the buyer's broker. We did this all the time in 2010 on FHA loans so people could have closing costs, right? It's essentially the same thing. Yes, I am a real estate boomer. Proud of it. Open houses. You saw that. It is acceptable for buyers to attend open houses without an agent. In this case, they will be interacting with a seller's agent who does not represent the buyer's best interests. An open house sign must be displayed. There's a new CIS coming. We talked about that. You guys know what buyer agency activities are. One second. Cool. What you guys are going to receive, we're going to put this together for you guys, the script for the initial Zillow call. The script, this is the same for real-time touring as well, by the way. We're going to acknowledge it during real-time touring calls when we acknowledge and confirm the appointment. We're going to address the script for addressing us at the house, all of the objections, and the forms that you guys are need. By the end of the day today, we were fooling around with like having you guys be able to like do this in dot loop on your phone at the appointment. I played around with it a little bit this weekend. That I don't know if I love that. But Meg is working on a Zap, so you can just do a Google form and it'll go directly to the consumer to sign off on their phones, which should be pretty easy, right? The workflow is gonna be once you get an appointment with someone, you're gonna say the script, You're you're gonna fill out the form, you're gonna send it to them electronically, and then it's gonna be filled in and sent to you as an email, as a PDF. You're gonna print that out and bring it with you. I would have a handful of these in my car, the single and the don't call it exclusive, the buyer broker agreement and the single broker agreement. I'd have both of those available. Have these things printed out in your car with you all the time, just as a backup, at least for now. And then just read through them several times. It's going to be extremely key to be able to explain that form to a buyer. If you sound like a ding dong who it's the first or second time you're reading it, I can guarantee you they will not sign it and they don't want to work with you. Is that pretty common knowledge? Is that simple stuff, guys? Like, no, like the first time I had to ever explain a contract, we used to like not put them in dot loop. We had to like meet with people to get wet signatures, and I had to be able to explain the whole thing. The first time I sat down and didn't know how to explain it, this buyer was like, I'm not signing this. You sound like a ding dong. And I said, okay, cool. And then I went and studied it. I sat down with my broker and I studied it and I learned how to explain it. And then I role played explaining it to my broker. That was in 2008 at a Remax office in Middletown, New Jersey. Here we are now. Guess what? The same thing works. I did not look at any questions.
I'll jump in.
All right,
I've been keeping my eye on it. So a question everybody